Longevity Junky, it's time to get your fix. I'm Nikki Leigh.
I'm Joffrey.
And today we have a special episode full of absolutely shocking medical Reddit stories to share with you. These things are always so interesting, I feel like. Kind of the stupidity of the world-ish, or I don't know, or the cleverness. I don't know. It depends on how your viewpoint.
It's kind of a little bit of both. I mean, I think it's just Reddit's kind of an interesting thing where you can get interesting stories out there, and there's some nuggets that you can learn from at the end of the day, and so that's a good way to approach it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's people's opinions, experiences, and I mean, I don't know if you've ever said this out loud, but like when something just crazy happens and you're like, you can't even write that shit, because it's just like, I would never have found that to be something that could actually happen in the realm of reality. But the fact that I love that people put these things out there, because then you can kind of get reality slapped in your face of just like, wow, first of all, people are like this,
Yeah.
And then second, like, oh shit, like that can happen. We really got to go outside and be prepared for anything.
Yeah. How does Reddit work? I mean, in the sense that like when people write these, do they get paid if like a bunch of people look at it? No?
No, but I think you kind of get some sort of, in a way, credibility. Like people can like thumbs up it. It can become something viral in a sense.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people could build off that, like if they're giving some sort of advice or something, or someone finds it really entertaining, I'm sure they could drive traffic to like maybe like their blog or whatever they're doing. But no, it's just kind of a free form. From my understanding, it's just a free form blog posting.
Yeah.
You just write whatever you want, and people can like yay it or nay it.
Yeah.
And
I should put up some of my residency stories, like the ones I told on there.
Well, yeah, but also save it for the show.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we should have a show. If we're doing Reddit, we should have a show of your residency stories, because this is like a live form Reddit.
It's sort of
for you.
A lot of them are. Yeah, a lot of them I might want to be anonymous in.
All right. Anyway, well, then I will read them, and we will say it's somebody anonymous.
Yeah. So anyway, you kind of had an interesting week. I saw an Instagram post from you, and I felt really bad about tell us what happened.
Yeah. That was really heavy.
So just for background,
sure.
Everybody should know, and they probably know, that Nikki is a model, an actress. You've been a Playboy of the Month person.
Yeah,
I mean, these are kind of big deal stuff, right? Like you're kind of not like some, just starting out model. You've had a career here and a huge following, right? So I guess that's the context. And obviously you have a bunch of other interests. So
yeah, I mean, so I put up just I don't know, there was a moment in my car and I was just like feeling a lot of feelings, and I just kind of pressed record and just kind of let the world know what I was going through, and posted it. Ended up posting it, no edit, just throwing it up there, and got an incredible response. Basically what it was about was I had just got done with like hours of a conversation of like exchanging stats and insights from my social medias, and I guess a friend came to me with a friend who I've worked with and also just been a friend with for a while, and he came to me with an opportunity. He was like, hey, I have this company that's like working alongside Meta, and really they really know what they're doing, right? And they came to him asking him, hey, do you have any influencers that you know? And instantly I'm top of mind. So he was like, yeah, run her stuff. I'd love to help her out, type thing. And so he hits me up and he's talking to me about it. And then he's also getting live feedback from this company, and they're basically telling him about how the algorithm is working for my page. And because, like you said, I started out modeling and doing all these things, my kind of foundation was on like hot girl shit, as they said. And, bikinis or whatever. And just from my modeling and everything like that. And I have been shifting my narrative and my content for a while now. Like, since I would say, but since before 2020, because first I was going out for commercial work and things like that, and coming from Playboy and things like that. They didn't they only they typecast me, right? They
Yeah.
pigeonholed me to like you're this, and I was like, no, I'm also like, I have a brain, I have a psych degree, like I can act, I can do this, like. And then they would say, oh, you're too pretty, you're too like you're not like a real representation of people for commercial work and blah blah, all these things. And so that, made me be like, okay, well then I'm gonna shift who I am on social media. Well, that was a real tough thing. And then 2020 came, and I was able to use I had a show called Positivity Time. And I mean, like, I had like 19 to 25,000 people live show up every single day, Monday through Friday, for this hour-long
Wow.
show. Yeah, that my community for over a year. And that this community showed up. They named it Positivity Time. We started out with gratitude. We talked about like real positive psychology. There would be a reading from this book that was really inspiring, which started it all for me. And we'd have a discussion. It was an hour-long show. And like everything was growing. So from then until now, like I've just been very intentional with being inspirational and like and really driving positive psychology narrative and all these things. And so this company was telling me basically, if they were even going to think about working with me, for my numbers to be up, for me to even, because I don't really make money off my social media. People think I do, but I don't, because of the fact that I'm like trying to really be of service in the world, and I want to do that rather than get these numbers of hot shit. Like, I could put up brands up there and all that, but I don't. Like, I want something that like I believe in wholeheartedly. So I feel the day will come, right? I'm hopeful, and all that. But they're telling me basically that basically they were telling me I have to go backwards in a sense. They were like, well, if you don't do the hot girl shit, then like your numbers don't go up because the algorithm knows you as this. And that was devastating, because we all are like living this based on algorithms now. Like, so much of our life is driven by a flippant algorithm. Like, it doesn't have the capacity to like evolve and change as a person. And so I was just getting hit with this reality and this like just hardcore, slap in the face ish, where, I was being told like, well, they don't want to hear that from you. Clearly your
Yeah.
numbers and the algorithm doesn't light up. They were like, post some hot girl shit. You'll see, like, your numbers will skyrocket, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but that's not
Yeah.
what I want to be. Like, I have so much more to offer the world, and I have so much more in my brain than just
Yeah.
like, let's like show tits and ass, which requires no brain activity,
Right.
like.
Right.
So it was just it was really devastating to hear that I like that they didn't want to recognize me as
Right.
somebody who's here to help the
Yeah.
world. They just wanted me to be that, like, the thing I've been evolving from and trying to get away from for a while.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think like,
horrible.
I talked a little bit offline too. I mean,
Mhm.
I felt really bad for you, but I think like contextually, that's who they see you as right now, basically through the eyes of a robot,
You
right?
know.
And that's who you are historically to them. And
Okay.
that's
Mhm.
why this brand that you had previously had, creates so much activity. But
Mhm.
it says nothing about what you are creating and where you're going to end up in 5 years. I mean, all these
Right.
people, I mean, listen, they're not visionaries. They're
Mhm.
basically they're
Number
just
crunchers.
looking, they're number crunchers.
Ah.
So yeah, if it hope, it's too bad he didn't kind of give you that sort of nicer way of putting
Oh,
it,
yeah, I know.
right?
It was really, really intense, and, like, and I was
Right.
like, and so I was go for hours, I was going through old, like, screenshots of, like, numbers, because when I got impressed with the numbers after the show, I'd screenshot it and be like, "Oh my god, this is working," I like, it
Right.
gave me hope, and I threw him all those, and he's like, "Yeah, I see, but the algorithm doesn't see that, or doesn't care, or it hasn't been consistent enough, or this and that," and so I was
Mm,
like, fuck, like, can't they just see it's possible? Like, they weren't even giving me, like,
yeah.
possibility. Like, they were
Yeah.
just shutting me down. And it also just, I mean, so many women, like social media is talk about mental health. Like social media is so devastating to the generations before me and, or after me, I should say, after me, even before, but after really, they're growing up on this stuff of like
Yeah.
women being objectified, of people feeling like they don't have value or worth in the world because they're not validated by likes. They're not, maybe they're not like getting paid or have Chanel bags or have Louis Vuitton, like all these things that social media pushes out there. And like, there's so many women out there that are devastated. They feel like they don't have any like stake in the world. They feel like they're not worth anything. And like that's part of what I want to be like pushing is that
Yeah.
we have to help them find their self-worth. And I'm saying this from a place of I had to find my self-worth. Like I
Yeah.
went through because of all this and being in that industry and all that, you get bogged down to this is what matters. This is what makes you money. This is the only thing that gets you validated. This is where you get your attention. And it would just reflect that in my relationships and everything. I was dating these crazy narcissists, like some that like hit me, some that like, and I would stay in this relationship because of the manipulation and this like the sociopathic tendencies that these like boyfriends, people that I love would like have with me I had to go through this whole mirror work of wow, they're seeing that in me and they're treating me like that and I'm attracting that because that's how I see myself. I didn't see any self-worth. So this whole flip in my brand and my narrative has come from real life experiences, crazy effing stories, and I've wanted to just help women and people to just find the strength within themselves. So I feel
Yeah.
like this was kind of the like the smack that I needed in a way to kind of be like, no, this is what you're here for. And you have something to fucking say and people can hear you now. And I don't know. It just yesterday,
Yeah.
there was a completely different shift in my, in my mentality and you seeing this as a gift and a silver lining with it, as opposed to something that really tore me down for a
Yeah.
second.
Well, a lot of
So.
times, stories of success start with somebody ultimately telling you can't do something, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That's very
Well,
true. Yeah.
that's what listen, at the end of the day, you just did that so much longer than you are doing what you're doing now. And so it's just a matter of taking
And it's just where I
it off.
started, right?
Right.
So like
Right.
algorithms started like where you started. And
Yeah.
so it's just like well, this was the birth. Like this
Yeah.
is what you were. Like
Right.
so I have to reteach her and they have to relearn who I
Yeah.
am. So I
Yeah.
guess the more I put out there about things like this, much more, because I guess I haven't done it enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just got to do it more.
Well, I'm glad you seem a little bit better about it. I felt a bit bad for you, but
Yeah, I was in a bad place, but
yeah. So what do we,
every low has a high. You can only go
yeah,
up
yeah,
from the low.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
So,
um,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
we got
so,
these Reddit stories.
yeah, well, okay, yeah,
How
go
are
ahead.
you doing? Is there anything I don't ever want to not
Okay, all right,
include you?
fine. I'm fine. I'm like kind of like, suburban single
House
dad
arrest or what?
guy, like Ed, what stories am I gonna
Do we
have?
need to go to like Six Flags and stick you on a roller coaster?
We didn't do that. Actually, I had a bunch of birthdays.
Yeah.
I had my little one turned 10. My oldest one literally today is turning 16. They're like
Oh my God.
their birthdays are 2 days apart, so
Oh
it's like a
shoot.
birthday extravaganza,
Yeah.
you know. So
Cool.
but yeah, that's about it. So I just sort of have to, I have to make sure everybody's happy and
Yep. Is she
has
getting
a
a
nice
sweet
birthday.
16?
You know what? So I tried to get her to do like a sweet 16 party, and I'm like,
Okay.
have it at my house. It's a nice house. We can, have your friends dress up a
Oh,
little
your whole
bit, and
downstairs is a party with a
yeah,
pool.
yeah, with the pool and all that, right?
Yeah.
And she,
I'll have my birthday there.
there you go. Of course you can. But she's like, no, nobody does that, and I
Huh.
just wanted at a pizza place. And
What?
so we're literally going to like some random pizza place where we just got a room for her friends to go. But she just doesn't want to. She doesn't want to like stir I don't know, stir
Yeah.
the pot or whatever. She just wants to be like, everybody else and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
No, well, that's good. I didn't ever have any sort of celebration either, but mine was because I was just getting bullied and I felt like no one would come to the party. So I didn't ever want to
yeah,
like put it out there to be disappointed.
I don't even
So
remember turning 16. I think
I
the only thing I remember
don't
about
know
it is I
either.
got my driver's license really quickly. I think within like days of it, it was like massive liberation. But
Mm.
that's the only thing. She doesn't seem
Yeah.
that motivated by that. Like I want her to be motivated by that, so I don't have to
I
drive
got a
her around.
car.
Yeah, you were
Yeah, from
16. You got a
my
car
I got a brand new Toyota Corolla. I ended up keeping it 16 years.
on your
I
birthday. You got it?
uh, uh oh, maybe I got it before my birthday. Honestly, maybe it was
Oh
as soon
wow,
as I got it as soon as I was able to drive solo.
that's smart. That's smart. Because
My
then
dad was like, "Love you, honey."
love
Like,
you. Yeah. Well,
well, I was
especially
also a
for
straight A student and like, was very
yeah.
trustworthy, so he was
Yeah,
like,
same
"Get her a
same with
car."
my oldest, and I also like the idea of her driving my younger ones around
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
me. So
Yeah, well,
anyway,
I only had one younger brother who didn't really he didn't yeah, we didn't really he was much more of a computer like game nerd. So he
there
didn't
you go.
really leave. But so that was just for my freedom. But all right, do you want to get into these stories?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here are the Reddit stories. Yep. Story
Very.
1. Did a clinical stint for my school at an ER one evening. This guy comes in, looks all messed up, like he got hit by a car. Shoulder and arm are dangling at his side, dislocated. He says that he did, in fact, get hit by a car in a hit and run, and that he is in extreme pain. So the doc looks him over real quick and then has him hooked up to the pain meds and administers what he thinks is needed. An hour goes by and the medications have all been administered. We are still waiting for the police to come so the man can file a report on the driver. But before they come, the patient sits up, unplugs himself from all the cords, IVs, and monitors, then stands up and proceeds to pop his shoulder back into place, and then turns to us and says, "Thanks for the drugs," and runs out like nothing happened. What the hell? Wow. Wow. I guess he was getting a quick fix. I guess he'd done it a few times before in the hospital, it says. And wow. There was another comment, actually. This person says, someone commented, almost word for word, this happened at my ER, but a young ex-Marine with his shoulder all weirdly out of place, his scapula standing out at an odd angle, and claimed to have caught himself trying not to fall off a ladder or something. Gets all kinds of drugs on board, CTs, full trauma assessment. Docs are looking over the CT and films I took and can't find anything wrong. No fractures, dislocations, but also no edema, no torn muscles, avulsions, etc. And we look up and the guy is gone. What is going on?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty common stuff. And so,
I mean, is it really?
yeah.
Drug fixes?
So I did my residency training
What they don't know.
it is in San Francisco, right? And
Mhm.
and so there was San Francisco General Hospital.
Oh, well, they have
Uh
a bunch of druggies over
oh
there and
gosh.
homeless people.
So oh my gosh. It was crazy. And
Wow.
not only that, but like IV drug users everywhere. I think it was some crazy number, like, like 40 or 50% were HIV positive in the ER
Oh my
and
God.
Hep C everywhere. And
Oh my dear.
it was kind of insane when I was there. But one of the things that like this is a common problem. And I'll tell you what was I've seen multiple times, which is kind of crazy. So an IV drug user, because they're always poking themselves with dirty needles, they'd come in and they'd have like a really infected, and sometimes they'd be infected, they run out of veins in their arms, so they're literally injecting their neck and
Get
their
out of
jugular
here.
veins, right?
No.
It's because they're
Does that
bigger
hit
and they can.
different?
Huh? No, no,
Does it?
no. It's just that it's easier to like hit because it's a bigger vein and
Ugh.
they've run out of stuff to hit.
Oh my God.
So I was in the head and neck surgery, and so we would see these people who had these oozing pussy things coming out, and
No.
they needed, because these infections were bad, they often needed intravenous antibiotics. Right now, finding a vein again in an IV drug user is very, very difficult to do. So in some cases, and
Oh.
also in some cases, we would have to put in what's called a PICC line.
Uh-huh.
Which is kind of a heavy duty IV, and you have to use ultrasound, find the vein, and then you drag it all the way towards the heart. And so
Mm.
it's a very, very like more permanent kind of thing.
Mm.
Whereas an IV you typically can keep in for maybe a week and then you have to change it and that kind of thing. So we used to put these things in. So for two reasons. One, you might not be able to find a vein. Two, these people need to be on IV antibiotics for multiple weeks because they had horrendous infections.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh. Is
so
this from like the
here's the
needles
thing.
entering or?
Yeah, because
Okay.
because they'd be using dirty needles.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
gross.
so what ended up happening multiple times was like we go in there, you have a bunch of pus, you drain it, you're doing wound care for a few days, you get the PICC line in, and as soon as they feel a little bit better, they get the PICC line in, they would like escape. And so
What?
why? Because now they've got a PICC line in. And for an IV drug user, think about the best thing on earth. You don't have to worry about IV access anymore. You literally have permanent access to your IV via a PICC line.
No.
So,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
isn't that crazy?
Like a
So,
like a like a funnel, like a funnel
yeah,
forever.
yeah. You don't need a needle anymore. You've got IV access, permanent, like sort of, semi-permanent IV access, and they just inject themselves with that. So we had to be very careful and
Wow.
have these people monitored very closely. But at least a couple times we had people leave, and trying to find those people. I mean, good luck with that.
Good luck.
But yeah. That was a
Wow.
common thing. I was right.
I mean, ugh. All right. Well, that's some.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, as
Look what
far as
people do
like,
for drugs, man. I mean,
yeah, I know.
it's so
Yeah, that whole thing with
crazy.
like popping your shoulder in and out too. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, like
that's pretty gnarly. Someone's like, I'm
when
gonna dismantle myself.
some people have like bad,
Dislocated.
injuries where
Uh-huh.
like for example, your stable, your shoulder's unstable and they're just so used to it. Like
Yeah.
people who've been ex-athletes, who've had a lot of shoulder injuries and stuff like that. Or like in this case, military, you have bad injuries to your shoulders and stuff. So, it makes it easier to pop things in and out, like when you've had injuries. And so that might be part of it too, like how this guy's kind of just goes in there. It's his thing, right? I'm
Yeah.
kind of surprised he kind of let them know at the end. And I'm also surprised he took
Right.
out his IV, right? Because again, makes it easier
Yeah.
to get in some IV drugs. So,
Well, maybe he was, I don't know, kind of a rookie at this. Like
it could be.
he keeps
Could
getting
be.
away with it. So he's like, this is fine, and then it's gonna be when he doesn't have that access or he gets
Yeah.
stopped. He's like, shit.
Well,
Next.
then again, he
Who
was
knows?
also after pain meds and stuff. A lot of times the IV drug users that what I'm talking about, they're like hardcore heroin and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, stuff like that. So anyway,
Well, oh God, so bad.
so
Okay, all right, we're gonna move on because that's
yeah, let's do
crazy.
another one.
I guess. Well, something I see here though, ER team. There, some ER teams, I guess, are actually trained now to spot these what they call
Yeah,
frequent flyers. That's
yeah,
such a funny word.
I
Like that's such
know.
a funny little title for them. Wow, that's so
Yeah, you
crazy.
would see. I mean, it's typical. I mean, you would see the same people over and over.
You
I
could, yeah.
was, I was consulted, as a surgeon on call, and a lot of times you'd go down there, you'd be like, if you were in the same, you're in the same residency for a number of years, you see the
Mm,
same people in there over and over and over.
yeah, and
So,
there's only so
especially in
many
San
hospitals.
Francisco.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah,
Oh my God. Okay. Well, again, like we're saying, we're just learning how people are in the world, or
yeah,
some of
yeah.
them are at least.
Well, speaking of
Yeah,
learning, interesting things, go on with this one. It's kind
that's
of,
next one.
yeah,
All right. Oh, okay. All right. Prepared to be wowed. So we've all seen these cartoons when we were growing up, right? The one where a geyser or something goes off and the cartoon character who happened to be sitting on it goes flying in the air. Well, a guy thought that would happen in real life too. He took a pressurized water cannon, popped it upright, sat on it, neatly fitting it dildo style and everything. Wow, someone said that. And released the valve. Complete anal and large intestine perforation, and he was on life support for a month. What the
Yeah, this is a confusing one to me
Was he
'cause
trying to get like sexually
well,
aroused?
that's the confusion, right? Like,
Right.
or was he really trying to like
Like just
fly?
blast off. Like he just wanted to fly. Like he's like, I have this like kid. I want to be like a kid again, and I just want to fly through the air. And
Yeah, like what is I mean, and
but
I what's all
wow, to
these
know that it like
pressurized
rips it open your anus and your intestines.
yeah,
That's
well,
pretty gnarly. I wouldn't have
pressurized
thought that
water
either, though.
a pressurized water can. I'm not sure
Yeah,
exactly what that looks like. It must
I
be like a is that like a something
could
that you use
yeah,
in
it
your
might like the fire hose, I would assume, like
oh,
what people
fire
use as a
hose.
firefighters, or
Yeah.
even the pressure washers, to get
Yeah.
like concrete and shit and graffiti off concrete, like all those things. That's I mean, you need some force for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, those things are like over like
Like hitting you
1,000
with a freight
PSI.
train through your
Yeah,
ass.
like a hammer, like a hammer.
Like
Um,
more force than that.
yeah. So I mean, basically, yeah. I
Oh,
mean, your
wow.
rectal wall is not going to handle that. It's going to tear. It's going to perforate. And the
I
problem
mean,
with
it
the
tears with a heavy shit sometimes. How are they gonna think that it's not gonna tear
well,
with
I
a
don't know if
pressurized water hose?
it's probably not going to tear like that. I mean that
Well, you
this is
never know. I don't
yeah
know. I'm
yeah
just
yeah.
saying. I've heard people like be sick or something, or fuck when women have like pregnant when they birth, like they split.
Oh yeah.
They
Well, those
can
are
rip
tears
their.
and they're tears, but this is literally perforating right through it. So
Oh
like
god,
if you
no,
think of
it's
all these
gnarly.
bowels, think of all these intestines sitting there and
Oh shit.
this
Mm-hmm.
thing's just kind of blasting through that. And obviously, so just to give you a sense of like what would happen then, this is so it's so the GI system, the gastrointestinal system like the stomach, the intestines, all that it's technically we still consider that outside the body. We don't consider that sort of inside the body. And the reason is that there's continuity with the mouth and then the
Yeah.
other side. So it's really not obviously it's not sterile. So it's really kind of thought of as being outside the body, right?
Okay.
Now what's tricky is and so when you absorb things through there and stuff, the things that get absorbed, they get absorbed sterilely into the bloodstream and so on. There's also this air that's in that in GI system that shouldn't be going into your body's cavities, right? So basically what happens is now you've torn through this thing and now there's a connection between the quote unquote, outside world and the inside world
Yeah.
that there shouldn't be. And that causes a few major problems. One is like, it says pneumoperitoneum, which is basically you've got air, a bunch of air in the middle of your, under your skin, around your organs and stuff like that, which you're not supposed to have, which can be problematic. But then also the bigger issue is now you've basically created an entire, like a sewer, like
Yeah.
spilling out on all of these
Oh,
organs and
dear.
tissues that are supposed to be 100% sterile.
Clean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So big problem there. Going back to, going back to the old days, uh about this is the kind of thing that I mean this I don't know if he was really trying to fly. My guess is that he wasn't trying to fly, but he was rather probably telling people that because
Yeah.
it's maybe
Less
less
embarrassing.
embarrassing than to say I was trying to get off, right?
Right, right.
But
Yeah.
it because
I mean,
obviously so the most
in the most extreme
yeah,
way. Like there's good water pressure, like,
I mean
what is it from the shower like your shower head. Like
I guess I don't know. You could try. But, yeah,
I
the
mean
most
it's or a hose outside is less pressure than that or
yeah,
than
yeah.
those extreme ones. Wow, that's really
But so
insane.
the most common reason you find this in the ER obviously is like really just for
People
sexual
want to have yeah,
gratification,
people want to get
right?
off.
They want foreign,
It's extreme. I
foreign
hope
body insertion in
wow.
the emergency room is a very old story. And if you go to the Google and you just start like Googling, emergency room X-rays and, anal stuff like that, you find, yeah, images of all sorts of things up there that aren't supposed to be there.
Can you tell us one that was most shocking to you?
Oh gosh. I mean, I actually never saw this because I never got consulted for this, right? Because I was always, generally speaking, above the neck for good
Okay.
reason. Um, but
For
but
good reason.
but yeah, I think the worst one I heard about was like a live animal, like a rodent.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, I don't
What
even
if it had
understand.
claws
I know, I
and
don't
it's trying to get
understand.
out? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
yeah,
Especially
but
like mice when they freak out, if they're in a closed space, they will claw the fuck out of
yeah,
anything.
well, I don't know. Maybe they declawed him. I don't know. That was part of the issue, and I don't know. Maybe it was because it was moving around, and that was part of the joy. I don't. Who knows? Who knows? But that's the grossest one I've heard of is an actual live animal. Right.
Did you ever see the movie Step Brothers?
Yes, I did. I
Where the
did.
one where the oh, I forget her name, but she was getting all aroused and she's like, I just want to roll you up in a ball and stick you up my vagina and feel your little hairs inside of me. And that's what I'm like thinking of right
Yeah,
now.
I think that's the kind of. I think that that's the spirit of the whole thing,
That's
right?
the spirit. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so interestingly,
That's insane.
and I don't know, and the only stories I ever hear about this are from men, right? I've never heard of a woman doing this rectally. I've never heard those stories, and so
Well,
um,
the guy's like G spot is basically through the
yeah,
prostate, right? Like the woman's is well
that's
not
right,
outside, but it's
and that's probably a little known thing that maybe provides some education. But
Yeah, I mean, just wow, just put some. I've heard of. I heard somebody who was a EMT, and they were telling me that they found one time they found like a full on wine bottle.
Ooh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Well,
Mm-hmm.
and so the G spot you're talking about is actually a prostate gland, right? So
Mm.
it's like it's up there, and apparently
So
just
funny.
because it has a ton of nerve endings there, that if stimulation of that, and some people
Mhm.
probably know this, experience this, whatever, but it can cause a type of orgasm that's very different for men.
Well,
That
I feel
is
like that's why gay men like fuck like rabbits all the time. Like they do. They literally are the most sexual fuckers ever. Like go you whatever, but I don't think I hear of people talking about like having sex as much as I hear gay men having like talking about and doing and having sex.
well, it might just be
Legit.
because there's just a bunch of guys and there's no women involved, and so
I don't know, man,
I
but
don't know.
if it feels that good, then like
Yeah,
they're going out of
yeah.
their way to make sure it happens and they do it frequently.
Well, apparently, so yeah, the difference is like, these orgasms that people have from that direction apparently can last for like, a minute or something like that or more.
So
Where,
girls can have like multiple orgasms, but
yeah.
they can't. I mean, would they get that same experience through anal?
Well, they don't have a prostate, right?
Okay,
So,
yeah. So it just
yeah, so
feels
I presume
good.
that's the added bonus of being a man and doing it in that direction.
Hmm.
Um,
You're like doing it in that direction. It's so funny.
you know, it's just so funny
I
that like.
love it. It's hard to make a straight man talk about this shit. It's so funny. Oh, I love it. Okay, cool.
So,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
we're getting to know people. This is
Well, and
hilarious.
we're also getting to know, like, who picks these out. Phil Ferragamo, our producer, produces. He's Phil.
Oh,
He's always.
throwing our
You ever
producer
notice
under
when
the bus.
Yeah, he always picks these ones out that are like
I think it's
complete.
because he know I can handle it, but you'll squirm, and it's fun to watch you squirm. Yeah. Nailed it. I know it.
Well, speaking, yeah. So, well, it's probably in the spirit of continuing down that line. I think he wanted us to go to story 6 on this, which I haven't looked at very much. But again, you might as well get
I hear
the dirty stuff out of the way.
ya. Oh, I got it. Here we go. I'm so excited now. Okay.
You get to put you in a good mood now.
I know. I'm like, hey, just have our Phil Ferragamos throw me some interesting stories. Okay, here we go. I'm a med student and read this book called Emergency! True stories from the nation's ERs. When I was just starting school. Oh, they were reading it when they were just starting school. My favorite story from the book involved a man and a woman coming into some ER in Dirtville, USA, which I have no idea where that is. She was holding a bloody napkin on the back of her head, and he was holding a blood-soaked towel on his crotch. To a room, and a doc came in to see what happened. The two looked at each other and mumbled something, avoiding the question. As the nurses began cleaning the lady's wounds, the husband finally broke down the story. They had gone out to a nice restaurant for their date, and they'd been trying to spice up their relationship a little bit lately. So after they ordered, the wife slipped under the table to give her husband some mouth loving, and he sat there like a boss, enjoying his blowy under the tablecloth. I just love the way she's describing this. When all of a sudden, she started using way too much teeth. Oopsies. He patted her on the head and told her to ease up, but it quickly got worse to the point where she was literally about to bite his penis off. Oh my God. Turns out, while under the table, she had a tonic-clonic seizure affecting her entire brain, and her jaw muscles were contracting as hard as they could. However, she'd never had one before, so he had no idea what was going on. Anyway, become unbearable, so the husband panicked, grabbed his fork off the table, and he just started hacking away at the back of her head. Oh my God, apparently she stayed clamped onto his erection until the seizure subsided. Always thought it would have been great to be seated at the next table. Yeah. Oh my God.
I don't know.
No.
Do you believe this one? I don't know if I believe this one.
I believe it. I don't care. I believe it. I want to. Don't fuck up my fantasies. It's funny.
That's a terrible fantasy
well,
to
not
have.
fantasy, but I couldn't find the word at the moment. Okay. But it's so wow. I just love hearing like off the wall shit like this because I'm like, what? Like it happens? But imagine being that person next to them, like seeing this, like, wow, that would have just been so interesting. Do you ever play the game of looking at somebody across the restaurant and be like, what's their story? And you try and make up their story? I feel like this would have been one of those what?
Well,
really?
Why is that man? Why is that tablecloth turning red? What's going on? Why is he screaming?
Yeah. What do you think's happening under there? That's insane. So he was stabbing the shit out of his wife. But tell me about that seizure. That's gnarly. How can she all of a sudden have that?
Well, so that's kind of weird. Because again, 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their
seizure.
Yeah, will have a seizure in their life. But what kinds of things can provoke that? Well, gosh, when you think about acute brain injury, which, I don't think that this particular activity gave her an acute brain injury. You could get it from low blood sugar. You can get a seizure activity from that. Substance use or withdrawal can do that. Sleep deprivation. But all of these things, it just seems like, this seems like horribly bad luck to happen right at that moment.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know what I mean?
So, yeah, I know what you mean. I read the story. I'm fucking
But I guess the concern in this situation for her is, you don't want to try to pry her mouth open either, because you've got dental injuries and so on and so forth. But that's probably the least of his concerns.
Yeah, he's not thinking about that at all. He's thinking you're gonna bite my dick off right now.
Yeah, and just in terms of what to do in that situation, if somebody is having a seizure, airway right away. You want to think about airway. Trying to make sure she has an airway. But basically,
I guess she had her nose.
Yeah, well, yeah, it just becomes tricky.
I'm seeing here something you should do is protect the head. All he did was fucking stab him.
Did you stab? Oh yeah, he stabbed.
Yeah, he was stabbing her with a fork to get her off. That's why her head was bleeding.
Oh my God,
that's gnarly.
Crazy. Can you imagine?
No.
Oh my God.
I
I mean,
can't imagine it. Stab me with a fork,
stabbing
like
her with a fork
smack me, or
too.
like fucking do something.
Yeah,
But
like
don't
who
stab
does
me with a
that?
fucking fork.
Right. Who does that? Stabs her with a fork?
Oh my god, this can't be true love.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's take it down a notch
Oh my
here.
god, that's
Let's
insane.
let's
Okay,
move out of
fine.
Ferragamo territory and into
Okay, here we
something.
go. Here we go. Okay, but
Yeah.
this one is really sad. I'm just gonna warn you a little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
Man comes into a shop with a very disturbed and crazy look on his face. Runs into the kitchen utensils aisle, grabs cooking knife, and puts it in his own throat. Oh my god. People freak out and desperately try to stop him. Call for help. The group manages to get the knife out of his hands despite his struggling. He keeps on fighting, not trying to hurt people, but to get the knife back to his throat. Ambulance arrives, man is dead. I don't understand. We managed to keep him from killing himself, and he can't be dead. Turns out the guy was having an anaphylactic shock and knew how to perform a tracheotomy. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, obviously he didn't know how to perform a tracheotomy, but he
Well,
was
he wasn't
having
trying to kill himself. He
yeah,
was
no,
just
he
trying
wasn't
to
trying to. Well, I
breathe.
think what was happening, so if you think of what anaphylactic shock is, basically
Esophagus closing?
not the esophagus, but around above the trachea,
Or the
that
trachea, sorry.
airway, the windpipe there,
Mm-hmm.
the larynx will start to swell and close down, and you can't, so you can't breathe, and that is, I mean, that's obviously you can get that from people who've got bad allergies, like
Right.
peanut allergies or whatever. It's
Bee
kind of,
stings
it
and
seems like it's becoming
the
more
things you have an
common.
EpiPen for type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So the tricky thing is, like, if you don't have
Mhm.
that, you don't have a whole lot of time. And
Ooh,
this guy
literally.
sounds like what he was trying to do was his impulse was to put his, knife down into his own airway, like through his mouth, it looks like, though, to try to open it up. But I mean, I guess when you're panicking, I mean, what else are you going to think of doing,
Well,
right?
he died, so
Um,
might as well just let him try that out, I guess.
yeah. But the thing about, like, just talking about what he was trying to what could you do in these situations. So some people, I mean, who are you have some training on this, like, I know some surgeons carry around little devices, little, sort of as part of their maybe just with car keys or something like that, where what you typically want to do in this situation, if you don't have an EpiPen, you don't have anything else, is you do what's called a cricothyroidectomy. So what you want to do is put a hole not through the mouth, but like through the neck. If you feel like, in a man, for example, it's easy to feel like the Adam's apple, right? And if you go underneath there, you find the first big ring, and that's a cricoid cartilage. And so there is a,
Like the
if you
hard part or right in between it?
between that Adam's apple and that first ring is the easiest way to get an airway. So you can literally put something sharp through there. And
No.
and so so
I
some
just like imagine that.
yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
So cricothyroidotomy, so that's basically what the emergency move is there. I'm not recommending anybody try to do
Yeah,
it,
don't do that.
but if you but if you look
Dying.
it up, you might end up saving somebody's life if you kind of know what you're doing in this type of situation, but you got to be sure it's
How gnarly would
anaphylactic
that
shock.
be if you save someone's
Yeah,
life?
yeah.
I heard it on Longevity Junky, and I just saved this man's life.
No. Yeah, don't do it, okay? Because I don't want somebody to sue
They
me
might
because
get
you went and
sued.
stabbed somebody through the neck and then said it was like because you heard
Hey,
it
but
from me.
if that person's life was saved, they could use this story that we just said as evidence and be like, he would have died.
Yeah.
He would have died.
Well, it's pretty common in the emergency room. I mean, I've done a handful of these myself.
You just stab?
Well, I mean, if you're in the emergency room, you've got to you can
knife?
you can use a knife, or they actually have these kits where you can do them in the emergency room. But if you're in a real hurry, you could just use a scalpel and move it and basically just put your finger in there until you
Mm-mm.
can put in
No.
a trachea,
Mm-mm.
put in a breathing tube.
Oh,
So
I can't. I just can't. I'm just
we just took
sorry.
it. We just took this, yeah,
I'm just
from
thinking about like that, and I'm thinking about like, oh my God,
yeah,
my neck is like very sensitive right now. Like if someone, oh yeah,
yeah.
I couldn't deal. Sorry,
So
but
that's
okay, good to know.
we just took it down a notch from Phil
I
Ferragamo's stuff.
mean,
It
didn't
was kind of
we?
a downer,
I
right? Kind
know,
of downer
fudge.
going
I hate
from
that the guy died. I think that would have
yeah,
another gnarly story of like, what do you think he's doing or what is he up to? And you're like seeing this guy trying to stab himself in the neck.
yeah,
Ah,
totally,
God,
totally.
people, it goes to show you never know what somebody's dealing with.
Yeah, especially anaphylactic
Have
shock.
compassion. Right.
Jeez. Yeah.
Okay, we got one more. Okay, let's see. Obligatory, not me, but my mother, who is an internist, not to be confused with an intern. Patient comes in, nearly lifelong history of morbid obesity. In the last year, she's dropped from upper 200s to the lower 100s. Nearly all of her organs are failing, and her blood is thin. Oh no. Real thin, almost like red Kool-Aid. The culprit? Malnutrition. I forget how they discovered it, but they find that she had a stomach ulcer which tunneled a passageway straight to her lower colon, bypassing the entire digestive system. Most of her food went through this route, meaning she was hardly digesting anything. Oh my God. They patched the hole in her stomach and she lived. But sadly, she ballooned back up to obesity. A bittersweet ending with dramatization could be an episode of House. Ooh, I loved that show, House. That was a great show. But wow, that sucks. Somebody's trying to like actually lose weight and have, be
Well,
healthier and
I
that
don't think she
happens.
was. I don't think she was trying to lose weight. I think she just had an ulcer. So
Oh.
so
But don't you think she probably felt awesome? Like she was like,
for a little
I'm
bit,
losing weight and this, that, and the other.
probably when she was about 150 pounds, she was like, oh, this something's good's happening, and then
Yeah,
the next thing you know,
but her
it was
organs are
much worse.
failing.
Yeah. So basically, she has an ulcer in her stomach, and 60% of the time, that's actually caused by a bacteria called H. pylori,
Uh-huh.
which is
H. pylori virus,
yeah,
I've heard that.
H. pylori. It's a bacteria, and you can actually treat it with antibiotics, which is good.
Mm.
Um, but what ends up happening in with these things sometimes, if they're not treated, why you need to treat an ulcer, is that if you imagine they start eroding through the wall of the stomach, and then they kind of become sticky, meaning they'll stick to stuff. If you erode right through it, that tissue becomes sticky, and it probably stuck to this her colon, and then kept eroding through the colon.
Mm.
And so now she's got a connection there, which is called a fistula. So effectively, depending on where it's going, she's starting to absorb very little amount of the food that she's taking in.
All right. Like they're
And
not absorbing the nutrients, like her body isn't
right,
getting the
right.
nutrients. Yeah.
So and effectively, that's what's giving her this malnutrition thing.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing with like the
Would the same thing happen if she had like vitamins? Would it not be absorbed at all?
yeah, I mean,
You know what I
because
mean?
there's a lot of things that are probably not adequately getting absorbed in
Mm-hmm.
specifically like protein. So, just when they talk about like the thin blood, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little weird because you can't really like when you look at blood, you don't really get a sense if it's, you can't say, oh, that's thin blood. But I mean, maybe what she was saying, maybe what the internist mom was saying is that when they took blood from her, there was probably, you know, she had very few, the very low red blood cells, very low proteins like albumin, all these things. Because you think you absorb proteins too, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
have very low proteins, you're going to end up malnutritioned, and those proteins are, part of what you need in order to have your red blood cells, your immune system, platelets, all that kind of stuff, albumin. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think that's basically what went on. They got to go and surgically fix it though. And then,
Gosh,
yeah.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, damn. I don't know. That could. I don't think so, but can ulcers or something be contagious? I don't think so, but I don't know how it would
Well,
be. But
technically, yeah, because,
oh, see?
well,
Oh,
the
learn
H.
something.
pylori is
Yeah,
the H.
oh.
pylori is, right?
Which a
So,
lot of people have actually.
yeah, and it doesn't
A
always
lot.
cause
And they don't know.
ulcers.
Right.
Doesn't always cause it, but like,
Right.
there is you can get H. pylori from other people.
How?
Well, I mean, if they're they usually typically talk about a fecal oral uh
So,
contamination.
okay,
So,
so tossing a salad.
well, it could be that, or it could be you've got kids in the house who don't wash their hands well,
Oh,
and
after they wipe their ass. Oh,
yeah, yeah, and
oh.
then the next thing you
Mm-hmm.
know, you got that, right? So,
That's
th-
gross. Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's gross, but
Yeah. Well,
but
but it happened.
it's very common, and it happens, and it was stomach ulcers. It's about 60% of them. There's also ibuprofen, like NSAIDs, abuse with, NSAIDs can also cause stomach ulcers as well.
Huh.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That's so interesting. You never know. All right, kids and moms and people cleaning
yeah,
diapers and stuff like that, wash your hands.
yeah, exactly.
Wash your hands. That's
Yeah,
that's my
wash your
takeaway.
hands. I think that's the good moral of the story on that
Right,
one.
right.
Yeah, and if you find out you have an ulcer, you say how would you know you had a stomach ulcer? Well, sometimes you get blood in the stool, and if it's from the stomach, it's usually like dark because it's
Mm-hmm.
digested blood.
Oh,
If
interesting.
it's from the colon, you can be bright red. But any sort of dark or suggestion of blood in the stool is a pretty good reason to get checked out.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Unless you just ate beets, then don't be
I
alarmed.
know. That freaks.
Isn't that
That
scary
freaky? That's
sometimes?
freaky.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you eat beets, which I love, by the way, and then all of
Oh
a
my
sudden
God.
it's like everything's red, and you're just like, oh my God, you could be freaked out. But
TMI. TM.
okay, well, we're gonna take a quick break, and let's be right back with our healthy takeout. Welcome back to Longevity Junkie. Time for our healthy takeout.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of said it throughout the episode here. I think my real takeaways is wash your hands, and you never really know what people are going through. So have compassion
And
and don't assume. Let
and
somebody in the aisle stab their throat. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
no.
That was so
Well,
gnarly to me.
I think we have the takeouts along the way, but I think it's a good
Yeah.
time to mention that if people have stories they want to tell,
Mm-hmm.
or they have questions they want to ask on the show, or really anything, you
Yeah.
could go to our website, longevityjunkie.com, and you can actually record yourself there.
I love that. You can
Yeah,
type it out or you can record yourself. I
yeah, I
love
mean,
that.
type it out or record, but I actually prefer the record.
Me too. It's
You
fun.
know, we've had questions on the past, and I'm sure we will in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say today.
Well, did these stories leave you speechless?
No, I just think it's kind of funny the one that Phil picks out in particular.
I mean,
He's
I'm
a
not gonna
dirty
lie, like
man.
I have sat on Reddit and listened and read, and I didn't listen. I read a bunch of Reddits, and it's, like it's hard to find some really, really good ones because there's so much of it. But I mean, they're pretty interesting just to be able to see what like people do in the world or what people encounter or like we definitely should have an episode of your ER, some of your like
Yeah,
experiences because and anonymous or not or whatever, we can formulate it however we
yeah,
want. But like
yeah,
I think even just hearing some of this, like I did not know that I knew that it had been told that some people will go in and have had these like drug
yeah, yeah.
fixes in the hospitals, but like to hear that it's like constant or to hear how normal it is for nurses and stuff to see that and to
Hmm.
experience that, like that's pretty insane. Like we don't realize what
Yeah,
we're kind of told or we experience it all of a sudden. So I think that was it's cool that people put that up. So people with Reddit stories, give them to us or write
yeah.
on Reddit, but I would say definitely give it to us. because we
Yeah.
would love
Send them
to.
in. Send them
Yeah.
in. Send us to the ones that you want us to talk about. So
Right. That would be awesome. Awesome. Well, that was a fun episode.
Great.
I really like that.
Yeah, totally. You want to read us out?
Of course. Longevity Junky is created by Dr. Buck Joffrey, MD. It is executive produced by myself, Nikki Leigh, Dr. Buck Joffrey, and Phil Ferragamo. And we're distributed by our friends at Acast. See you next time.